Hey guys, Kev here, and I wanted to talk about front flipper design. I got the Berg Blades Mini Sweeney here, and I freaking love this knife. It's fantastic. Hopefully you picked one up. If you didn't, it is what it is, I suppose. Yeah, it got me thinking. There's a lot of different styles of front flipper, right? And I like quite a few of them. Thought we'd talk about it. So I have some knives here that have pretty much all different front flipper tabs. Some are similar, but not identical. And we can kind of just talk through how they work, what they're set up for, and that kind of thing. Now, a lot of these knives have multiple deployments, so they'll also have a hole or something like that as well. But, we're going to focus on the front flipper design. And so let's start off with the Mini Sweeney here. This one has a really cool front flipper. It has this sort of mohawk, and we've seen this before. A very similar, actually, looking knife is the Wingman EDC Mach 3 Tom Mayo design. And that has a similar sort of, mohawk looking thing, sort of like theirs is a little bit more, I think, slanted back and then kind of comes down, but very, very similar. I actually prefer this from Berg because you can easily reach up here and grip and rip it on a reach around. And then you also have the sort of over the top style front flip. But you can also catch it like this and roll it back, which is pretty cool. I don't have the Mach 3 here, but I sort of remember the reach around not being the easiest thing. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I just love that reach around on this knife. It really makes it a whole different feel for me because, I can get a little bored of this move right here. Like, it works, it's good, but I can get bored of that. And the rollback, while doable, is not, the most efficient way to open this knife. So it's nice to have that reach around. It's got a really good grip spot, like right here that jimping catches you. Matt did a great job jimping this thing all the way to the end there, and really allows you to reach around on it. Now, a big factor in front flippers is detent. Detent has to be perfect. People tend to make it too light, which can work on a front flipper. Because, you're using that thumb leverage to pop it back. But if you have a flipper tab like this, where it's more up top, for the reach around, it's not the end of the world if it's a little lighter, because it's almost impossible to fail a reach around because of a light detent. But this move would be atrocious with a light detent. You would probably just go, and it would just fail out. But this is set up good, and you need to have this little cutout right here. He did a great job adding this little cutout, so your thumb pops right through there and lets it deploy. So the Mini Sweeney is fantastic in that regard. Let's talk about similar ones, I guess, that I have. Two of these are actually Divo designs, which are from Colin, Mason Pierre, and myself. So I won't sit on them too long here. But this is the Divo Knives Buzz. And we designed this using an idea that Colin had on a Kubi design he did, the hide. And it has this sort of, I guess I called this the mohawk. I think I said that here too, but kind of has this mohawk haircut looking thing. Now this one is interesting because you can't do a traditional front flip. I mean, you could if you really try, you might be able to get it. But it's really meant for you to rest your thumb up top and then Bic lighter flip it around. So it's similar in a sense to this, but this has a more vertical angle to it, right? Where this is a little lower and over the top. So it's meant to be rolled around like this. And then you can also grab it and do the reach around just like you can on the Mini Sweeney there. The reach around is such a good front flipping mechanism, or sorry, deployment option for top flippers. it's almost essential. If you have a top flipper style like this, it needs to be reach aroundable. This knife also has the slot or the hole for thumb and reverse flicking, and then you have the top flip as well. You cannot really do a rollback on this because it is going to shred you. I mean, you could probably fake it till you make it. But, yeah, so the Sweeney here, compared to the Buzz, has a little, I would say, an extra option because you can do the rollback move and the reach around and the over the top, right? And then you have the same flicks, right? So that's the Buzz. Then another Divo design that's similar is the Lush. And this one is interesting because in this case, it really does require a little bit of a lighter detent than these two. These two, you can have a slightly stiffer detent, maybe like medium to strong, where this needs to be medium to light. And part of that is you have a fuller there that is looks like a long pull, so it doesn't have a cut through hole where you can put your finger in there and really rip on something. So if the detent's too strong, you might slip out of this. But another reason is this has a front flipper and a top flipper. So the difference here is these two have top flippers. So you're resting your finger up top and whipping it around or reaching around, right? Resting up top or reaching around. On this knife, you actually have jimping here and a little corner where you can rest your finger and do it like a traditional front flipper tab, which is interesting. So you can do that. Then you can also rest on top and pop it around. And again, you have this sort of cutout back here that helps you guide your thumb around. But because of the angle on this, if that detent were really strong, like it is on this knife right here, now, not all of these are strong. Every knife varies, but mine has a pretty strong detent. If this right here had that stronger detent, it would really struggle. I don't even know if I'd be able to get that out because the just the nature of the angle and everything. This is just slightly different, but it grips your finger really, really well, and the angle just works where a strong detent is okay. This, you need to have it be a little bit more medium to get that whipped around there. And then, of course, you have the jimping up here to do the reach around. So this knife, you don't really get the rollback. I mean, I guess you can. I never even actually tried it, I don't think. So you can roll that one back. You can reach around that one. You can do a traditional front flip. And you can do the top bic lighter. And then you can do the reverse flick. And then you can even get in here and do a thumb flick. So you got a lot of options, a couple extra options on that one. Now, something a little more traditional would be this. This is a Kansept Knives Fenrir. And this has thumb studs. So you have, you know, traditional style thumb stud. This is a lefty knife, by the way. But it comes in righty. Oops. And then you have this traditional front flipper, which is basically just a post coming out of the front of the knife. You rest your finger on it and you pop it around. That's pretty much what a front flipper originated as. And I feel like it's a pretty new thing, front flippers, in the last 5 years or so, 5-10 years. And they've become very popular. I'm sure there's some examples of them going back. But what you just saw there is one of the big issues I have with this knife is the jimping stops right here. Look at that. You have no jimping from here up and around. So if you miss that top jimp, you're going right across this and it hurts. All of these have jimping that extends all the way around those corners so that your finger catches and doesn't slide over. Because when it slides over, that shit hurts. But you have a longer tab, so you can rest your finger lower down where the jimping is. I just tend to try to reach the top. It's kind of like my move. But this one you can thumb flick, you can reverse flick, you can front flip, and then I'm pretty sure you can also do the reach around move. sorry, the rollback, and not the reach around. At least not for me. I struggle with it because I get hit with the blade coming around. So that's the Fenrir. Then we have another very traditional look. This is the Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. And this is a fantastic knife. This one has a fuller as well that you can reverse flick. But for the most part, you're looking at that front flipper, which again, not jimped up and around. It stops right here. And I don't understand why everybody does that, but hey. The detent on this one is not super stiff, so it's less likely that I'm going to hit the top and round over. Plus, the angle is just a little different. This one's more up and away from the pivot, it seems like, where you're just, I don't know, sometimes I just want to roll over the top. With this one, even if I go to the top, I always want to just pop that detent. It doesn't want to let me go up and over. It wants me to snap that blade out. So this one's really cool because it's traditional style and it works extremely well with the Sharp by Design detent nub system. So on that one, you can do the front flip, you can do the reverse flick, and then my favorite is this rollback. Man, I keep mixing those up, sorry. This is just so fun on this particular knife. It just, oh man, it's just set up for it. I don't know. You can also grab it like this and do a reach around. Not quite as fun as the others, but it does work. And then you, of course, have the reverse flick. So you have plenty of fun to be had on the Mini Tempest. This is a Caviso collaboration with Sharp by Design. I think they're still available on their site. These Fenrirs, I think, are on Kansept. Lushes are sold out. Mini Sweeneys might be available at bergblades.com. They were really low, but they have a second drop coming. And then the Buzz, maybe Knife Center has those. Okay. So, some low-profile flipper tabs. Here's one of my favorite front flippers of all time. Maybe my favorite front flipper of all time. This is the Trevor Burger Urban. Now, this is a custom number 001. But they have a production version. I'll try to link it down below. LeftyEDC sells that. And this is a very traditional South African style front flipper. They have these more low profile compared to these others. Front flipper tabs that are nice and just jimped all the way around. And they just grab your finger really well. This is a nice strong detent as well. And it just thunderclaps out of there. This is one of the best knives ever. I can also reverse flick this knife, so I have multiple deployments. The action is amazing. You just flick it off the hollow grind. It's not really like set up for it. There's no fuller or anything, but just fires. You can grab up here and reach around, but that detent is super strong. So that's one thing I find with this knife, doing these other moves, for me, can be a little taxing on my skin. But the front flip is just amazing that it doesn't matter. You know, I'll front flip, and then I'll give it the old reverse flick occasionally. So that's a South African custom. Another low-profile one would be the Pena Paramour. This is probably the most low profile that I have. Nice jimping up and around, as we've talked about. That's the way to go. And really tucked down in. So it looks like, damn, this would not be a great front flipper. But I beg to differ. This thing front flips like an absolute animal. So you just get in there, bang, pop it. No problem at all. You can reach around this one. It's one of my favorite reach around knives that I have. You just kind of dangle it small enough and it grips you well enough that you can just grab it and do that. Now this move is much more difficult because of the angles and the shape of the handle, but it can be done. Not something I ever do. I always do reach arounds and then I'll switch over to front flips. And that's the way I rock this knife. This is one of my favorite knives. So excellent, excellent knife. Paramour from Pena. This one, I believe, is still in stock, perhaps at penaknives.com, at Knife Center. But once these are gone, they're gone. Another sort of low-profile flipper tab. This is a Jack Wolf Knives After Hours Jack. And this is not one of my favorite front flipper tabs. I'm on record as saying that. It's very low profile, yet the jimping stops here. It's not super tight jimping. So you really got to place your thumb in the right spot. When you do, it fires fantastically. It works great. You can reach up and over. Just got to make sure you reach far enough to grab that first jimp, and then you can whip it around. Not something I do often. This I would not recommend because these are sharp corners. This is a sharp corner. It's just not fun. The traditional front flip and maybe the occasional reach around are where it's at on this knife. And then, of course, the reverse flick off of the fuller. But yeah, this is an example of a knife where I really wish they would just add more jimping. But they don't because they like it, I think, aesthetically the way it is. And, you know, I get it. But I would be way more inclined to pick this up and want to front flip it a bunch if that jimping came up and around the top, right? But that's the After Hours Jack. And the last one here, actually, no, I have two more, sorry. The first one, I'll kind of go backwards because I didn't see this one at first, is very similar to this. And that is the Snik Workhorse. And this one is sort of a combination of these two. Right? You have that front flip area and you have the sort of mohawk angled up. Where this one has the front flip and then kind of comes down low. And this one doesn't have the front flip but comes up. So it's almost like this tab, but with the front flip. So it just has to come out of the handle a little more. So your blade comes out of the handle a little bit more there. It's very interesting. And I got to tell you guys, it works like a charm. So you can easily reach around this knife. And then you can rest your finger up here and just hammer out that front flipper. Again, reach around, and then you can also come up top and give it the old Bic lighter. So it's got a very, very similar setup to the Lush, except the tab is just on a different angle. Both work great. You know, just a little bit different setup is all. This one you can reverse flick if you're left-handed because you can get into that nail nick down here. You can use your ring finger and pop it. Not something that's easy to do, but can be done. And I got to tell you, man, this one is almost the best of all worlds on that front flipper design. It kind of takes all of these and shoves them into one knife and does a fantastic job with it. So the Snik Workhorse is really, really good. This is available at traditionalpocketknives.com. I'll link it down below. There are some other dealers, I think, that have it, but Austin over there was kind enough to send this to me, so I would like to, you know, send you guys their way. It does have a titanium liner lock, no insert, but Riot, so you don't have to worry about it. Excellent, excellent, nice knife. All right, and the last one here is the CKF Davless. And this one has a semi-traditional, just jut out the front style front flipper. And it's just done excellently. This is a David LeSpec design. Picked this up at NC Blade. You can see the jimping stops relatively early, which is not my preference. But this tab just kind of works because it's so big. It's kind of like this one, but I don't miss it often like I do on this one. Because there's enough tab there, you just know where to grab, right? You just know what to do. And then I also love this rollback move with this knife. I don't do this often because there's nothing to grab. There's no jimping here. I would have to reach down here and then I can get it, but it's just not that fun. This can also be reverse flicked. So you have front flip, roll back, if you get lucky, reach around, and then of course, reverse flick. Very, very sick. I enjoy it. These knives, guys, are awesome. I'm a big fan of, I'd say, all of these. Let me know your thoughts on front flippers. What style of front flipper do you like? I like pretty much all of them as long as it works. You know what I mean? I'd say my least favorite on the table, design-wise, is the after hours jack. I wish that it... Actually, you know, I take that back. It's the Fenrir and then the after hours. And again, it's because of this bald spot right here. Like, if they just went zzz, jimped up and over the top, then it would catch your finger and you wouldn't miss like that. And it would just make your life so much better. And the same thing here. Give me that jimp up and around. Give me that jimp up and around. And then I can really, you know, grab on. Because when you miss, it hurts. And you can't do these moves because you just can't trust it. And it makes the reach around a little harder too because there's less, you know, real estate there to grab. This one's still excellent. I really love the Fenrir as well. And if you carry the knife, you will get used to that knife. But I love all the styles, you know. That's the fun part of knife collecting, I suppose, is we get to have different things. You know, so one day, maybe I'm really into this rollback, right? And so I want my Sharp by Design Mini Tempest. You know, the next day, I want something that's a little more traditional that just hammers out like a friggin' shotgun. And the next day, you know, maybe I want something a little more a top flipper-ish, you know, where I can just nice and easy grab that tab and roll it back and do some reach arounds, you know, get in my flicks when I want to. And so it's just fun to have all the different options. And yeah, but I would be curious to hear what people's favorite style is. And if you're not a front flipper person, I totally get it. I'm not the biggest front flipper person either. Here's an honorable mention, the Cicada from Reich. This has the craziest top wheel. I include, you know, top flippers into front flippers. But this thing, you know, once I got the oil and shit all off of it, it's actually pretty sick. You just grip the wheel and rip it, and it whips out. Now, you only have one option, right? You can't really do front flips with it just because I can't get grip. I'm sure I could if I got the, yeah. You could do the button push and swing, but mostly, you know, this knife is mostly novelty, obviously. But it does have a pretty functional flipper tab there. But that's an honorable mention, I suppose. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. I just thought I'd do this. You know, I thought it'd be fun. I talk a lot about holes and flicking, and that's what she said twice. And sheep's foot blades and stuff. I don't talk too much about specific. Ow, see that hurts. That's why it should be jimped all the way up. Like, what is their excuse for not adding the jimping to the top there? But yeah, I don't talk about specific deployment methods too often, so I thought it might be fun. And I realized I have a shit ton of front flippers. Apparently, I've turned into a front flipper fan. Weird. So, I love you guys. Check out all these knives. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you later. Peace.